you here.
Okay.
You asked Michael what the difference was between miracles and revelation. Revelation unites you directly with God, and miracles unite you directly with your brother. And I would add that they connect you directly with your world as well. Because miracles are the experience you have of being relieved of a misperception of your brother that causes you to behave toward him in a way that is inconsistent with the behavior you would have toward a son or daughter of God. A miracle causes you, as I said earlier, to recognize the divinity of your brother. In other words, he's not the bastard you thought he was. Or he's not the one who cheated you out of something. You see him, you experience in an undeniable fashion his divinity. And as I've also pointed out, when that clarity is uncovered in your mind, there is a simultaneous clarity that this is true of you as well. And you see your innocence, and you see your divinity. Now, you suddenly find yourself considering this person defenselessly. And when you are relating to someone defenselessly, you are experiencing the true meaning of intimacy. This is very important. It's the same with God. Revelations connect you with God because you are not defended against the experience of God. You are in a state of humility in order to have the experience, to have revelation. And it is, for lack of better words, a very intimate experience. Absolutely intimate, because there's nothing separating you. You are holding no definitions. You're holding no personal right to have your own take on everything. And in the absence of the dissonance that having a different point of view introduces, you find yourself inseparably one with God, even though you find yourself yielding to and cooperating with Him. And that's the kind of intimacy that everyone does look for in their relationship with their fellow man or fellow woman. They look for that undefended intimacy that occurs when each of them yield to each other. See, most everyone literally gets screwed up when they try to either get or give something to another in the expression of intimate lovemaking, when what they're after is to be found in yielding to each other. Another very important point. And in truly yielding to each other, instead of trying to give or get, it is a taste of heaven, because it is a taste of reality, and it can be a threshold or the threshold of a miracle. And that's all I'll say about that at the moment. Continue.
So let's see, we said revelation unites you directly with God. Miracles unite you directly with your brother. Neither emanates from consciousness, but both are experienced there.
And let's stop there. In the New Age, there is so much thought given and expression given to the idea that you create your world, that your consciousness is creative, and so on. Well, let's be very clear. Your consciousness only seems to have the capacity to create a misperception of reality. But it doesn't have the capacity to actually create anything. It can only create confusion by allowing you to come to a conclusion that is not true, and then allowing you to believe your untrue conclusion. Consciousness is not unreal. It just isn't the seat of creativity. It is like a field of awareness in which revelation is experienced, and where miracles are experienced, as long as they are needed. Continue.
Consciousness is the state that induces action, though it does not inspire it.
And I want you to stop there, because this is very important. You will find as we continue through the course that there is a sentence that everyone loves to use and doesn't have the slightest understanding of. And the statement is, you need do nothing. Consciousness is the state that induces what? Action. It's a small word in this sentence, and it isn't said in a way that gives it emphasis. But I want to take the opportunity here to point out that action is a necessary and appropriate and divine element of being. And you know what? When you experience revelation or a miracle in which you see your brother or your world more truly as it is in its divine aspect, what did I say happens? Your behavior toward your world or your brother changes. The way you act changes. It inspires new action. Continue. No, let her finish the next sentence.
You are free to believe what you choose, and what you do attests to what you believe.
There you go. You are free to believe what you choose, what you choose. And if you choose to create definitions that are at odds with the meaning God is giving everything, then that is what you will believe, and what you do will carry out your belief. So you're free to believe what you choose. You're also free to believe what you haven't chosen. In other words, you are free to believe what is revealed to you when you have dared to be inquisitive, to know of God, what is the truth here? What is really going on here? Who is this brother that at the moment I can't help but define as a real pain in the ass? You see?
Yeah.
And then if you believe what is revealed to you, what you do will attest to that. So either you're going to act on the basis of what you have made up about what the world is, or you will do what attests to your willing allegiance to the truth that has been revealed to you because you were curious enough to look beyond your best definitions. Okay. Yes, Michael.
Previously we had talked about involvement, and I was curious as to how involvement fits in here. Do miracles, is involvement the field in which miracles take place, or do miracles induce involvement with your brother or sister, or are both true, are both so, both possibilities?
Please ask the question again.
Okay, we had previously talked about involvement and how it's necessary and important to become involved with one another. And I was curious, you had mentioned consciousness as a field where action takes place. And I was curious, in other words, when we become involved with others, through saying, I want to be involved with others, is that set the field where miracles can take place? Or do miracles induce spontaneous desire to become involved? Or are both possibilities?
Both are possibilities. Miracles, the shift of perception that causes you to see your brother differently, causes you to be willing to be involved because you see their true nature. And their true nature is one of innocence and lovableness and beauty and integrity and so on. And when you see that, you are attracted toward it. And you can't help but be involved. On the other hand, if you haven't had that insight and you nevertheless desire to be involved with your brother, the involvement, I'm going to put it this way, the involvement will uncover whatever subtle resistances you have to being in relationship with them. It will cover up your idiosyncratic concepts about what a relationship ought to be, for example. And your partner's unwillingness to fit into the definitions you have will uncover a call for a new point of view, and either you will become curious as to what the truth is here in this relationship, in spite of the fact that it's not matching up with your definition of what a relationship ought to be. That will set the stage for the miracle to occur, the sudden shift of perception to occur. And then, of course, once that occurs, involvement shifts onto a new basis. You understand?
Yes.
Okay.
Revelation is intensely personal and cannot be meaningfully translated.
And I'm going to interrupt you. Usually the word personal refers to one's ego, one's personality. Revelation is intensely personal. It would be better understood as intensely intimate. You might even say intensely private. Continue.
That is why any attempt to describe it in words is impossible. Revelation induces only experience. Miracles, on the other hand, induce action. They are more useful now because of their interpersonal nature. In this phase of learning, working miracles is important because freedom from fear cannot be thrust upon you. Revelation is literally unspeakable because it is an experience of unspeakable love.
That last sentence is absolutely true and cannot be explained. Working miracles is important because freedom from fear cannot be thrust upon you. You cling to fear. You cling to fear whether you've thought about it or not, because you believe that fear keeps you safe from the devil. You believe that fear keeps you safe from your enemy. You believe that fear keeps you from taking a wrong step. You believe that fear is an essential part of your makeup. And you feel that if you did not have fear, you would behave foolishly and, in all likelihood, would end up being irresponsible. You don't realize how much you value fear. You say, I don't want to be afraid, but you would not leave your house without having it in your hip pocket. Because fear is what will keep you alert at the intersection. Fear is what will keep your eyes on the alert for someone driving carelessly. Fear is what will cause you to be sensible when you have a deadline to meet and you might be inclined to drive too fast. You value fear so incredibly that if you were to take a look at it, you would be shocked.
Raj?
Just a moment. So the release of fear cannot be thrust upon you. You must set it aside. You must dare to choose for your peace. And I encourage you always to do this kind of experiment when you're not under the gun, when you're not in a situation that does engender great fear, so that you might find that in your peace and in the absence of fear, you are more able to be intelligent. You are more capable of embracing a perspective that allows you to be utterly appropriate. It is in the practice of setting fear aside and choosing for your peace that you begin to have experiences that prove to you that the practice and embodiment of fear is a total waste of time, but it is a waste of time that utterly blocks you from the simple expression and embodiment of intelligence, that it's your birthright to be experiencing because it's your very nature. Continue.
Raj,
Yes.
is there such a thing as of value to be found in fear reactions to just simple everyday living? Is there something in that can teach us?
Is there something that
Something in our reactions, something about our fearful reactions that we experience that may have a value and may have a teaching value for us? There's no value at all.
It can only have one value, and that is ultimately to teach you that to practice and embody fear blocks you absolutely from hearing God, blocks you absolutely from the experience of a miracle, that it is the exact opposite of what we were discussing last week about miracle readiness. Fear is a willful act. You think fear comes upon you, but you have determined what are fearful conditions before the occasion for fear arises. And when the definition of that which is fearful occurs, you then spontaneously and willfully bring fear into play. And when you're being willful, there is no humility. There is no form of willfulness that has any effect other than covering up and hiding from you your humility and the blessing that your humility brings you.
I can say that I'm familiar with that experience.
Indeed.
And I don't like it. I simply do not like it, and I've grown weary of it. I don't want it around my psyche, my surroundings, myself at all.
Well, just think about it. The experience of fear is debilitating. It's enervating. It will reduce you to a heap, incapable of any form of action, intelligent or otherwise. And it is never reasonable. It may be reasonable according to the criteria you created about what is fearful, but ultimately it is not reasonable. And that is the reason that fear cannot be dealt with through reason. If you are afraid of flying, people can talk till they're blue in the face, explaining to you and reasoning why you don't need to be afraid. But fear is unreasonable. And there's only one solution to it. You have to be willing to abandon it. Now, you say, well, how can I abandon something I'm not creating? Fear comes upon me the closer I get to the plane. And when you're sitting in your seat gripping the arm rails, there's no way you can be convinced that you are practicing and embodying fear. But if someone points out to you right there while you're sitting with white knuckles holding the arms of your seat in that plane, that there's something you might be able to do to help reduce the fear. See, without trying to invalidate the fear, present an option. That option being to meditate, to find some way to become still, to give your attention in a direction other than the fear that seems to be consuming you. And if you can find a little willingness to dishonor the fear enough to try to become still, and you persist because you don't want to be consumed by fear, and it's not your birthright to be consumed by fear, and ultimately you know that the fear will deprive you of the freedom of flying or of anything, and you choose through whatever form of meditation to become still, you will find the fear fading. And when the fear fades, you will see that it wasn't for your safety that you were experiencing it, that it did not have a valuable message for you, and that it wasn't utterly real as you had believed it to be, because in the willingness to become still within yourself, this seemingly unavoidable, real thing faded. And that's the beginning of the undoing of fear. That's the beginning of the realization that it's what you're choosing to do with your mind that governs whether you're experiencing peace or fear. Now, peace, on the other hand, does not debilitate you, does not enervate you, does not reduce you to a heap incapable of any action of any sort. It rather is an experience of balance and of inner integrity and stability and security and an enhanced capacity to act intelligently. It therefore has all the elements of that which is real. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it most certainly does. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So the flight or fight response, which is said to be a basic biological response, is a learned response?
Absolutely.
Years ago, I had a near-death experience.
Whether it was in the caveman days, if there were actually any caveman days, and now, children, newborns, do not have a built-in flight or fight response. And when you go to different cultures today, you will find that the flight or fight responses are different because of the conditioning, because of the education. It is absolutely learned.
Years ago, I had a near-death experience, and where I actually thought that I was going to die, and became curious. When all hope was lost, I became curious as to what the transition would be like, and that's where my curiosity became fixed. And then, through a simple twist of fate, so it seemed at the time, I was snatched from the jaws of death. And what I found had happened is, because I no longer feared death, or had set my fear of death aside, I became what felt to me like literally fearless.